Go ahead, start recording. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming to TMAC today, guys. March 19th. We've got a pretty nice agenda. I just want to do introductions real quick. I am Beth Province, TMAC chair.
Noah Gordon, TMAC member.
Hello, Thurston, member. Ashley Suriak, executive officer.
Joseph Gandy with Public Works.
David Keller, TMAC, now Central District.
I'm Planning Commission and TMAC member.
Greg McFarland.
Alternate.
Right.
David Hurtado, TMAC.
David Mickelson, Public Works. I'm Kehan Shur with Public Works.
I'm Ryan Coleman. President of Grand.
Is there anybody on?
I don't know.
Okay, our first. Come sit with us. Come join us. Our first action is an action item approving the minutes from last time meeting, February meeting. Yes, thank you. Anybody have any changes they want to make to the from last time? It was the MAG discussion. Oh, actually very informative. Nobody wants any changes? Anybody would like to approve the minutes from last time?
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that. Perfect. All in favor?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, we have an annual training by Kehan today. I don't even know what the annual training is. We're all surprised. This will be great.
Yep, well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to be training myself more than training you guys on this one, so. Let's see here. So, per TMAC code, we're required to have annual training, and this is what it basically goes over what TMAC is, how often we can meet, what are some powers and duties of TMAC, what are stuff we're allowed to discuss, what should be stuff that we should not be discussing. It goes over the overall how meetings should be conducted, and the quorum, how questions should be handled, and just overall about the TMAC itself. So it is created by city code. It is an appointed body. The mayor is the one that appoints the body or the TMAC itself with the consent by the council. Right now we have 7 members, which by code we're allowed to have up to 7 members, and also 2 members at larger alternatives. We do have 2 members at larger alternatives as well. So right now we're sitting at total 9 members. So we don't have any vacancies on that end. There are 5 municipal council districts, and we got to have at least 1 member from each of those municipal council districts. At least 1 member should be a member of the planning commission. 1 member should be representative of college level transportation academia, and then 1 member should be representative of a business community oriented organization. Yes, we have David Hurtado on that. And then a member from the municipal council should be appointed as a liaison to the TMAC. We usually have 1 or 2 at least. This meeting looks like we do not have any, which is fine. Yes, they should be appointed, and they should attend as many as possible. A member of the city engineering division, a member of the police department, and other applicable city staff shall be appointed to act as liaison to the TMAC, which we do have those as well. So TMAC is not an elected body. It is not a final policymaker, and it should not represent a constituency. All the text, these are in our code. I can provide the link to the website, as well as I can send some PDFs discussing all of these powers and duties. I don't think I should be reading through all the duties, but you're more than welcome to read it on your own, and the PDF as well, the link that I'll submit or provide to the TMAC members. You guys are more than welcome to read through that. So basically, it's a recommendation body, so recommend the adoption and alteration of all rules, regulation, and ordinances which it shall deem in the public interest and for the purposes of carrying out the objects of the Provo City Code as it relates to transportation and mobility. Determine and establish such rules and regulations for the conduct of the board as the members shall deem advisable. Monitor the status of and make recommendations for amendments to the city's visioning documents, the general plan, transportation master plan, the major and local street plan, and any other documentation. Review regional, citywide, and significant local transportation mobility issues as they relate to and are affected by law and use policy, balancing the interests in and needs of people walking, biking, riding, transit, and driving delivery trucks and automobiles. Provide recommendations to the mayor, municipal council, planning commission, and other city commissions and boards regarding the priority, funding, and design of capital improvement projects. Serve as a coordination body and resource for organizations interested in transportation and mobility issues affecting the city. Promote public education on transportation and mobility issues affecting the city and its residents. Conflict of interest. So basically, what it does is TMAC is subject to the Municipal Officers and Employees Ethics Act. I will send you a document kind of going over and discussing what that act is. So you're more than welcome to look at that. What are some of the actions that we should, as TMAC members, should stay away from? They cannot disclose confidential information acquired by reason or of official position or use the information to secure special privileges. Cannot use or attempt to use official position to secure special privileges. Cannot knowingly take, seek, or solicit any gift or loan if it tends to influence the discharge of official duties. Yes.
All the information in this meeting is considered public knowledge, right? So,
Yes.
Do we get gifts?
We're going to cover that in a second. Yeah, so it is a public meeting. The meeting is recorded, public can access it. They're more than welcome to join in person via Zoom. They're more than welcome to comment, not that they have to comment. What are some of the exceptions to conflict of interest? An occasional non-pecuniary gift having a value of less than $50, an award publicly presented, any bona fide loan made in the ordinary course of business, political campaign contributions actually used in a political campaign. Conflicts requiring disclosure. Basically, any conflict that is not prohibited, you must disclose the conflict. Kind of talks about all possible conflicts, the ones for which we should be disclosing, and the ones that we should be completely staying away from. Conflicts requiring disclosure, that goes over gifts, special privileges, being an officer, director, agent, employee, or owner of a substantial interest, at least 10% of a business entity regulated by Provo City. And then similar, all those people with 10% of a business doing business with Provo City, having a personal interest or investment which creates a conflict between public duties and the personal interest. It is an open meeting, so meetings, they are basically to convene a public body with a quorum present. So the quorum in this case would be, we have total 7 members. We need to have at least 4 members in order to have a public meeting, which in this case TMAC is a public meeting.
and what about the at-large members?
So it depends on how we have them. They can be replacing some of the members that are not present on that day. Some of the items in the open meetings, as far as TMAC is concerned, annual training is required, which we have been having these for the past 3-4 years that I recall. Written and recorded meeting minutes, that is something that we provide at the beginning of the meetings. You guys review that and you guys approve those meeting minutes. Post schedule of annual meetings. We do post these meetings, the monthly and the annual. Well, in this case, the monthly covers the annual as well. And then proper notice, we submit at least a week in advance, sometimes even more than that. But our goal is to post our schedule at least a week in advance of the meeting. TMAC meetings are open to public, but not a public hearing. Public comment is not required. They're welcome, not required. Grandma. So everything we record can be grandma. So documents, email, voicemail, this meeting itself. TMAC members are also the individual TMAC members. Anything discussed in the TMAC, they're all grandma. So if a grandma comes regarding a TMAC member, we are allowed to share that information regarding that TMAC member, which district they are from, what are their background, things of that nature. Ex-party communications, so public discussions should happen in public. What this does is this protects the integrity of the process, and it also relieves undue pressure on TMAC members. So some of the parliamentary procedures: consider one thing at a time, ensure justice, courtesy, and equal treatment to all members, serve the will of the majority, preserve the right of the minority to be heard. Meeting does not start until a quorum is present. Chair runs the meeting, and city loosely follows Robert's Rules of Order, so TMAC may adopt reasonable rules and change rules procedures on majority votes. Chair calls meeting to order. That's the one thing that I've noticed, maybe we are doing it, but when we are starting the meeting, the first thing we gotta say is the time, date, and then we go to the introduction.
Didn't say the time. They didn't say March 19th.
Can we get Beth a gavel?
Oh my gosh, yes.
We should, right?
We should, I'd love to work on something.
A bus handle.
Yeah. And then reads the first agenda items into the record. Clarify the action to be taken. TMAC members declare any conflicts. In the TMAC...
When we introduce ourselves, we should be saying if we have a conflict right then. Like on planning commission, when it goes around, we say, this is my name, I have no conflict. So each TMAC member, according to that rule, should technically be declaring that.
Meeting or every single
Every single meeting. So at the beginning, when you
At the
say who
beginning
you
of
are,
introductions, yeah.
each of us should probably, since that's a requirement, be saying no conflict.
Especially if you have a conflict, then you should say it for sure.
Yeah.
In the TMAC meetings, staff presentation, staff can present, public comment is welcome. TMAC discussion, that's when you guys discuss any item or the items in the agenda. Ask for motion, which the chair will call for that. The main motion, again, the chair will call for that. It requires a second. If there is no second, then the actual or the main motion dies. Chair restates the motion. Chair opens debate. Chair calls the question. And then the secondary motion, it helped dispose of the main motion, can be made during debate on main motion, and it deals with them, well, the chair deals with them in the order. The secondary motion follows the main motion. It could be amending something, so if it's amending, that's the wording we should follow. And if we do not have time or would like to discuss this in the coming meetings, then we should be following that language. Motion to continue in the next meeting or following meeting. Fairness, if a person that is not involved in TMAC, if that person is here present and they're listening to the TMAC, they should feel that everybody got treated fair. That's kind of how the definition of the fair is for TMAC purposes. And that's about it.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
So, part of my role on the TMAC committee is being a local business owner, but also that does present some conflicts of interest from time to time. Not that I feel like I've ever had a problem, but it's conceivable that business could come before the committee that I would have a financial stake in. So should I just always introduce myself as I have a conflict, or?
I would, if it's obvious that you would have a conflict, otherwise you just bring it up during the meeting. I recognize that I would have a conflict on this item, so I'm gonna abstain from comment on it.
Yes.
You could still sit in the room. I think sometimes you're supposed to leave,
That, and you cannot take part in the motion itself. Or
but you also can't be part of the discussion.
this is discussion either. So at the beginning, once you see the agenda, you're more than welcome to say that, hey, I believe I have a conflict. That's why you disclose if there's a conflict of interest, if any kind. You disclose that, and you're more than welcome to, or you could let us know in advance if you don't want to come to the actual meeting.
But I also think that maybe what you're saying is sometimes you don't know you have a conflict till we start talking about it. And at that point, I think it's perfectly reasonable to say it in the middle of the meeting, just like, I realize I might have a conflict with this.
I don't think I've ever personally had a conflict with any of the items we've talked about, like,
Or may have a perceived conflict. Somebody might think I have a conflict of interest. I just want to make
we're
it.
talking about these electric motorcycles, and I don't sell them, but I sell something that kind of competes with them. My push has always been, well, we just need to apply the law fairly for all types of vehicles. But I do have an interest in that. I could just sell them.
I think you've done a good job at disclosing that interest, and honestly, your role in that business is what makes you valuable to this body. And so, like, because you're not pushing for an ordinance that would adversely or promotionally benefit your business, like, I have not observed any perceived conflict.
Yeah, I think the only time it's really genuinely a conflict is if you're going to gain something from it. Like sometimes we'll have in planning commission something that's in our neighborhood that obviously we care about more than others, but as long as you can make a reasonable judgment, we don't have to declare that a conflict of interest.
If we were discussing an ordinance to ban Vespa motor scooters, probably shouldn't participate in that discussion.
What did he
You're welcome to observe though.
And I would say also, the way you recuse yourself, I attended a city council meeting once, out in Provo, and where I work, where the city council member said, I need to recuse myself on this issue because I have a financial interest in this, and I think it's an incredible project, and I think it would be great. I can't say that in this meeting. So basically, he just gave his, stamp of approval. That's not how you recuse yourself. That is not.
Yeah. And like conversely, like I am an employee of Brigham Young University, which touches almost every conversation we have in this meeting. But I have no decision-making power at BYU, and no one could suggest that I do. So I'm happy to continue commenting on policies that affect BYU.
No, that was good. Thank you, David. This is a page I'll send this. You can find this as well. This goes over our the city code. Also discusses all the powers and duties that we just went over. Our Provo City Council districts, 5 districts. We have at least a member representing each district, which is good. And then our current TMAC roster, that's all our TMAC members, and which districts they are from, how many terms they have been, how many terms that are left. If you need that information, let me know. I'll be more than welcome to send you that information.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We are going to actually push item agenda 4 to the bottom for now because we haven't heard like a full update on the engineering project for a while, I feel like. So we're gonna let them update us. Yes. So yeah, let's see you again.
Okay, well, let's see. So the first one we're gonna cover.
Anybody see?
We can post.
None of them taking down the crane today.
I saw the warning about watch out for the bee. Oh, maybe not. That's, things will be in motion.
So the first project, this is our 2026 Provo City Crack Seal project. This is something that Mr. Mickelson, he has been running this show, and this year he decided he wanted me to get involved, so he gave me some helpful insights, and we're just carrying on with our crack seal project. So we'll be touching some of our major roads, but overall this year we went a little bit on the heavier side as far as the crack seal is concerned. The pricing that we got were actually pretty surprisingly well, which makes us believe we might want to even add on to it if we wanted to.
How much that will change?
Nothing on this project. It is, but most of the product's already made, so it doesn't really affect anything for this project.
So Holbrook Asphalt is our selected contractor. We have them on board. They are expected to start next week or the week following. So we're going to be starting this one soon. Like I said, we're hitting a lot of roads, and at some point we're gonna discuss if we wanted to add a little bit more to this. But for now, we're gonna stick to the right here. That's it. Not a whole lot on this one. Okay, let's see. We have Mr. Mickelson.
David Day will present the next item. So David, thank you for coming.
You can just start, I just got one slide in there. And so, you can go to the next slide. Don't push play yet, because no one will listen to me, but I'm just kidding. So, it's kind of been about 2 months, because we didn't quite update it in February with the MAG presentation. So, the last 2 months, quite a bit has happened. We finished all the drilled shafts. We finished the 2 abutments, and we have girders in place. So, that was only 3 things, but that's a lot. Big milestones, and so now you'll see a lot taking shape over the next couple of weeks. This is kind of when more visible stuff will actually be happening. So you can play, this is just time lapse over the last 2 months. So this, you can see these operations, they're just doing the drilled shafts and putting those piles in. I'll finish up and you'll see them frame, the abutments. Down, and then they're starting framing, time bar, and they'll pour. We get our one snowstorm.
Yeah.
Or the other one. Oh yeah, that was another big milestone too. We are out of the river officially. So we got all of our riprap and our coffer dams out, and so the river is now no longer.
Wow.
And that was on Monday when all that got done. So, but right now they're just stabilizing the girders, getting everything in place. They'll get start framing for the deck, and you'll see the deck being poured in a couple weeks. And then on the left side that the culvert wall there, that will be poured in the next week or 2 as well. So we're getting closer. But that's where the bridge is at. Starting to take shape.
There's a lot of traffic diverting to the River Grove neighborhood, and often at high speeds. Are we looking into that at all? I know the designated detour is 500 north, but a lot of people have learned that, we can zip through these residential streets and come out on Columbia Lane.
Right.
And when they do that, they're usually doing 35, 40. I don't know if that's...
Maybe just get with police and see if they want to go park a car out there and just get some enforcement on it. As far as use of public roads, they're public roads. But as far as speeding, I think that's something we could look into and seeing if we could crack down on speed. Yes, the project is going to happen on time. We are going to extend the project a little bit just with some changes that we've been making on the trail structure to try to make it a little bit better, waterproofed, and we're also going to be adding a mural underneath rather than doing like recessed concrete. And so those have kind of added a little bit. We're still going to finish, our goal is to finish and have it open by July 4th. And so early summer is when we're planning on being done.
It's like
Yeah, you
Christmas
can't
for
hold that.
engineers, because you never get to do projects this cool.
It is pretty great.
We never get to do projects in school that finish like.
Well, I mean, like, most of what they do is street maintenance, right? This is like the cool stuff. We got
Yeah,
two of
UDOT
these big projects
sweeps
going
in
on.
and does the university. Good job.
It's fun to see. Are they called girders?
Girders, yep.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
It's fun to see those folks.
It's very nice.
Reinforced concrete girders.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
That's it for 820. Okay.
Road. Those are pretty letters.
You can just zoom in on that one section. So this year's road rehab, we're focusing on one area. It's something that we're trying, so our main roads here that we're addressing is Center Street and Fourth East, being our arterial and collector roads there. And while we're there, we're trying to hit some of those residential roads that are in need of repair. Our pricing all came lower this year because of the proximity of the project. And so I talked to my contractor about it, and they said, even though pricing for them has gone up, costs for everything, we've been able to get lower pricing on our end, just because of how much they can get done in production and everything here. So we removed all of our concrete work. We did that last year for this area so that we could just have a seamless, mill and overlay project. And it's something that we're testing, and I think right now we're looking at starting in June, and they feel like they can get it done very quickly just because of the proximity and the production they'll be able to get on all their asphalt. So we should be able to see a pretty quick road rehab project this year.
So it should be done right in the summer.
Yeah,
After
Couple
the
months.
BYU students leave, where they come back.
right.
Will you shut off parking on the streets all at the same time, or will you do one street at a time?
I can't say it will be one street at a time,
A
but
smaller area?
it won't be like the whole area will be closed, because that would be insane. I would have to tow every day for hundreds and hundreds of cars. But they'll phase it, but they'll probably be moving through, they'll phase it, move through a mill and be paving behind. So it'll be something we work through. But
Is there notifications going out to the neighborhood?
there will be.
Like they put flyers on their windshield?
I was gonna say, because I think that's mostly BYU student area, so I'm getting notifications. Is there a way we can, get the notification to BYU and have them post it or something?
I mean,
I'm announcing it in church as of now. Now that I know, I'll tell them all.
I think you'd actually be surprised how few of the residents there are.
Especially the ones over the summer.
Mhm.
Doesn't that hit a couple areas close to apartment buildings?
I don't know,
Yeah,
but
there are
there's a lot of
but even
apartment buildings that are not
CBU students or
people that live here.
And our contractor takes care of the noticing, so they'll go through and notice all the apartments and houses and cars and put up, whatever notice that's needed to get vehicles off. And then if they're still there, then we tow them usually around a corner. But yeah, there will be plenty of notice for all the residents and tenants, so.
I'm thinking. Our children.
It happens every year,
I
so.
know. They walk out there,
Okay, who's the contractor on this?
Stager Parsons.
Your car parked on the street for a burger.
I'm sure they do it.
Yeah,
Like,
they
they
do.
just don't
I know
think
they
about
do.
stuff
They
like
do.
that. They just.
And they come and knock on my door. What happened to my car? And I say, the one that was there for 2 months?
Yeah, the dusty one with leaves on its window.
a spider web.
Uh-huh.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, last one. University grade. Saw the notice that 6 South will be closed.
Yeah,
Only at
you
night,
saw
though.
that
Only
right.
at night.
So the east frontage road from between 5th and 6th South, that will be closed, to finish the rest of the storm tie-in there. The project right now is on schedule. 70% of the sewer work has been done on the west side. They're working as speaking on the east side, close to the frontage road to finish the rest of the storm tie-in. Pretty much it. I mean, schedule was all of 26 and 27, they're gonna finish the east side, that's the demolition and rebuilding. And as speaking, they are on schedule, everything is going according to the.
We still have another year. Does anybody, maybe this is for planning, but does anybody know why the apartment building on the west side of the bridge has stopped construction?
Not sure if they stopped, have they?
Yeah. Mill Creek?
No, is that Mill?
Millrace.
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 Equipment sometimes, but I haven't seen anything.
Like, they built the parking garage and then they stopped building the structure. And I didn't know if that was because they ran out of money or they didn't have buyers, or if it had something to do with the integration, like the construction necessary.
Mainly on their side, the financing, they run into problems internally.
Okay. Do you think it's gonna not it's not gonna happen?
We're hopeful that it does. Problem that they're running into, if they don't complete the project as they have presented, they lose the redevelopment money that they were, getting, and they'll have to pay for that property where the IFA used to be. So
it's in their, it's to their advantage to follow.
it is.
What happens if they can't?
If they can't, then we'll send the bill to the property price. And that's really our only leverage.
And you just have an unused parking garage sitting there.
Somebody else could buy it and finish it.
I just wondered if it was anything to do with the bridge construction, so it sounds like it's not.
They are fighting with UDOT, any impacts from the project. UDOT has not get to acquire any of the property, so we'll see how that turns out.
Into this bridge. Even a bit of surprise.
It was in the plans anyway, yeah.
No, we told them right from the town floor, hey, the bridge is going to be built. They knew about it, but they're looking for any money they can get.
Question on the bridge, the cones on South University, strict. Just saying nothing.
Well,
It will depend. I mean, so this is the first phase of traffic control. So right now that will be, once that other half of the bridge is, it will flip. And then I'm not sure I can't remember what it looks like, but there will be some iteration of reduced access through the project.
Actually curious about those cones, like, that stretch of university is always kind of, I'd say. It's like left turns and stuff coming across 3 lanes of traffic and turns coming in from both sides of the road. Curious, are we looking at crash rates while the cones are up?
Like, do you think they're better?
Like, I think the road might be considerably safer now than it is normally.
Now that people have figured out the traffic pattern.
Yeah, well, and you can't get through it, they're so close to that.
That's right, so you can't do anything crazy. I'm wondering if maybe we
We've noticed
the template for future design of that roadway.
So force people to use the intersections instead of all the
Yeah, exactly.
mid-street
Yeah, like
crossings.
let's reduce some of the left turns.
You're saying for an item agenda next year, look at a revamp of South University in
I guess what I would like to invite the city engineers to do is look at crash rates on University Avenue as a function of when the cones were in which configuration. And compare before and after.
And you want to compare the type of crash, because you might have more
That's right.
rear ending with
Exactly.
the traffic backed up, but like left turn crashes or.
Yeah.
And that's something we could definitely pass on to UDOT to look at.
That's right.
Their road.
UDOT's road, right?
That
So,
whole road.
but that is something we could bring up with their traffic operations and just see if they're interested in looking into that.
I have wondered, given that UW has done the other part of university with the UBX line and what they've done with Third South, which a lot of that is to reduce mid-block left turns, and what we did on Cougar Boulevard. I've driven on South University past the bridge. I thought, when are we going to get to this road?
That'd be a good idea.
It does seem like, and I don't know, what would you say? Have the changes to the other roads I mentioned, has it produced the result of fewer accidents?
A good question. I know Cougar Boulevard accidents are waiting.
Yeah, it seems like that used to be the number one place in
They're
the
better?
city for accidents.
They're considerably, the crash rates are lower, the crash severity is lower. They've had two things at the same time. You've had the additional medians and bike lanes go in, closing a bunch of accesses and making the road a little less chaotic. You've also had the removal of a whole bunch of 16-year-olds who are driving on that. So both those things happen simultaneously, but I do think that it's been a good thing. The road is safer now.
Wondering with the potential redoing of the town center, if they would consider that road. That would consider.
One of the top.
Awesome. Thank you for the updates. We appreciate those. Next one, there is a house bill out, but I don't.
The governor signed it.
I don't know.
He did.
I think it passed.
Good.
And it basically covered all the things we were talking about. And it was interesting to see that most of them were already, like, it didn't really make that many changes.
The law was already there for the most part.
Yeah, I think it added helmets to age 18, 21, and
3 years.
And there's an option for you to get like a license so that you can ride without parental supervision.
You can't ride.
Is that an option or a requirement?
It was an option. You can either have parental supervision or you can have this.
Creates a safety course for the operation of certain electric devices on a highway and describes the circumstances under which the course is required. And makes technical.
And I think this is effective like May 1st or something, right?
So like if a 15-year-old wants to ride their scooter without their parents watching them, they can go take this class and get a certificate.
Right. But once again, it all comes down to if nobody knows about it and nobody's enforcing it, then it doesn't matter that it just.
Well, it did have something that said like new sellers are going to have to include.
But that's already a requirement.
That was already there as of last year, I believe. Although it was more targeted towards the electric motorcycles, and now it's on e-bikes as well. So I've got to get a label maker, actually. My business.
As far as I can tell, it's still in the governor's hands.
Oh, it hasn't been signed?
One thing that it does that I thought was interesting, I've read these sections of code so many times. You got rid of the legal definition of a motor-driven cycle, which was a subset of motorcycle. I don't know why that was ever a vehicle-specific defined vehicle anyway, because there were no laws that applied to motorcycles that didn't apply to that or vice versa. So it makes sense they got rid of it, but they didn't really change much. Helmets until 21 were already the case for motorcycles, so they've just made that the case for electric scooters and e-bikes and things, which is, I think is great.
Well, I think after two, I mean, they've had so many young people.
Although my husband pointed out that the girl who was really pushing this, that had an injury, I think it was in Saratoga Springs, was going 40 miles an hour and not wearing a helmet, driving very recklessly. So, like, there are multiple things contributing to these fatalities and horrible accidents besides just my 12-year-old wasn't wearing a helmet or I wasn't watching him, you know?
But maybe the most important thing, if this actually gets signed, and is the public education factor, because like you said, most of this was already there.
Yeah.
It just, people don't know about it. And unfortunately, even mentioned when I got here, Vineyard City Police, just a few days ago, posted a video on their social media. The police officer was literally sitting on an electric dirt bike and calling it an e-bike over and over again, and talking about how riding these on vineyard streets and trails are okay, but even if they go 40, you should go slower and you should wear a helmet. I was like,
Not even saying the right thing.
I mean, it's just not even close. So, the law hasn't really been the problem. The public awareness of the law, there's a big deficit that's been there the whole time.
I really think we can partner with BYU on this and get a huge chunk. We can partner with UVU on this and just say, these are the rules, kind of like St. George does on their trails. Just like, these are the rules that you are supposed to be following. Have them on all of our trail signs. Maybe have them like the week they come back to school, just like to familiarize them with the frequent infractions that we see that are dangerous. Pedestrian safety.
Are they the biggest problem?
No, they are.
No, but if we did it with the back to school nights at the elementary schools, the high schools, the middle schools, then we can go out in full force and have a huge week of enforcement, because everybody has the information, and if they disregard it, that's on them. I don't know.
I don't know how do we get, actually, the fact that the police officer in Vineyard was even able to get to you indicates that that's probably a more effective communication vector than a lot of things we've talked about.
Is that yours?
Well, yeah, so we've coordinated before with police, city council to do some of those like videos and things in the past. Yeah, so we can coordinate and do more.
Can you submit them to the school district and ask for them to put them on all the school ones? Because I don't see them unless I'm subscribed to them.
Right.
So, you know, I'm not gonna
For like
see.
following the message.
Only the people who are following Provo
Yep.
City's PR are gonna see it. So if we can get it out to each of the schools and they can put it on their Instagram.
Well, and we can probably, we're gonna say, it's also like a statewide issue, like zero fatalities would probably be the best approach to get that message out statewide. So we can do like localized things here for Provo City and get the message out on our channels and reach out to school districts, see if they'd be interested in things like that. But yeah, and there's ways on social media you can pay for posts to expand that reach, so it's going out to a larger audience. It might go further than Provo, it might just stay in Provo.
I just feel like at least asking them
Mm-hmm.
to share your post without spending any money you've already.
Yeah.
I
Push
think
it a little
getting
further.
Provo School District would be easy, because they have their community councils who have their safe routes, and they're supposed to present those, go over them every year and present them to this entire school. So,
Which they don't, but now we've just
They
given them
don't,
something that we made
but we
that they
can talk
share.
to Superintendent Dow too, like.
So
Doing
my issue with this is the problem is, the focus for me has never been about the older kids or the college kids. Because like you said, we can get the education out there, that's great, that's nice, and then it's on them. For me, it's been the 14 and under crowd, the ones that actually are in these accidents. There were two 13-year-olds that were riding e-scooters the other day. I saw the article, I can't remember what city it is. They bumped, they fell into the road. Someone stopped, tried to help them, but while they were trying to help them, one of them got hit by a truck. They're fine, fortunately, but it's the kids 14 and younger, to me, that's always been the issue. For me, a 14 and younger person should not be on a motorized anything. Even if they do that waiver online. My son just got his permit, so yay, now I get to teach a child how to drive a car. But for me, drive a car that can potentially hurt other people and themselves, they have to spend 6 months and driver's ed course, and there's a list of 5 things he has to do to actually be able to get a license to drive it. Same thing with any motorized anything for a kid 14 and under. Taking a YouTube course saying, look, I passed all these questions, and then being able to go out without parental supervision, I don't think that's safe enough for the kids.
But that would never be a Provo City ordinance. That would be a state law.
It can be a Provo City
So,
ordinance.
like, I have a daughter that I've sent to school on a motor scooter when she's like 9 or 10 years old, right? And I've ridden bikes with her as well, and to me, she's no less safe on a small motor scooter getting to school than she is on a bicycle.
So why not just ride the bicycle?
Because the motor scooter is easier.
Because the motor scooter is easier, and her school's was, I mean, she went.
Don't we have an obesity problem in this country anyway?
Yeah,
So it's from the truck.
It's up to parents to govern their kids at that point. It's not, we don't need a government in there telling all the parents how to, like, what their kids can and can't do.
So I've
On
been
their
reading a
private
lot,
property,
I've
they
been
can do
reading a
whatever they
lot
want.
about the early years of the automobile. And for the first 15 years that automobiles were available in England, the law was you could not drive faster than the person walking in front of your car waving a red flag telling people that there was a car coming. So the speed limit on cars in England for the first 15 years was effectively 3 miles an hour. Not only that sounds great, sounds amazing. Like, let's go back to that. I guess it took us about 30 years to find the right mix of laws for cars. And I think that it'll take us about that long with all these new things too. I hope it doesn't. But like, it is a decision that's much bigger than this city and this body. I think if we, like, yeah, I'm just saying it's okay to be a little bit like, I think our laws are okay. I view the problem as not a child falling on a motor scooter, but the truck behind hitting them. That's the problem.
So when the child goes into the road, it's.
But let's separate them. Let's build better lanes that are separated from the road.
See, that's my.
And that's how we fix the problem.
Let's educate them on bike riding safety.
Let's make the truck drive 20 miles an hour.
Scooter safety.
Let's do something else.
So we make the scooters drive 15 miles an hour like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get the police out there and start pulling over any and all e-scooters and e-bike people.
Yeah, as long as they're pulling over the cars too.
The scariest
already
part,
They don't.
the scariest thing I worry about with my kids is if they ride down like, one of the hills around here on a bike, they can get up to 30 miles per hour easy, and they're doing it right next to live traffic. I prefer separation is the primary aim for safety, is get the bikes and the motor vehicles away from cars, and they're far less likely to have a problem.
But until then, I will always advocate for teaching safe rules. I teach my kids, whether it's an e-bike or a regular bike or a foot scooter or an e-scooter, that they are not to ride on the sidewalk if they're going fast. They're to expect that nobody ever sees them, and they always have to make eye contact before they cross the street, and they wait when their light turns green just to make, like, those safety principles. And so apparently there's a generation that doesn't teach those, and we need to figure out how we can bridge that gap so that everyone has the information they need to be responsible and keep themselves safe. Whether they're 9, 14, or 21, there are clearly people in the community who either never learn the rules or think they don't apply to them, and we need to make sure that our enforcement presence and our education presence hold them responsible for those rules. And we don't need to over-regulate, we just need to use what we've already got and use it correctly. That's how I feel anyway.
General safety is applicable to everything. Trying to single out any specific mode of transportation as being unsafe. Like, admittedly, motorized things, there is some point on the line between like a little kid's motor scooter up to a motorized dirt bike. Like, they're not the same thing even remotely, right? And so there is a different measure of safety between the two. But so I like the mountain bike. To give an example, you can take a pack horse into any wilderness area in the United States, but you can't take a mountain bike because the law, when it was written up, said no mechanized vehicles shall be permitted in wilderness. So even though I like the mountain bike, if I come up to a trail that goes into wilderness, I have to stop and turn around. That law was made in, I can't remember, 1967, 60s sometime, before mountain bikes even were a thing, right? So back then when the law was written, it was motorized as in Jeeps, motorcycles, four-wheelers didn't really exist. But they're all mechanized. But then mountain bikes came along and they're still included. So wilderness is off limits for somebody on a mountain bike.
You're talking a self-propelled, not an e-bike.
Self-propelled with a pedal. And so nationwide, you can't take a mountain bike into any national park that's not on a paved road. You can't take it into any wilderness. The original law was no mechanized vehicle. So if you say a motor-assisted or electric motor vehicle and you include everything, that's pretty broad, in my opinion. So there's definitely a line there. And at some point, you should have a motorcycle handler's permit or a license or whatever if you're on certain types of vehicles. But
Speaking of, law, so I mentioned that this House Bill, what is it, 381? I hope they pass it. That they did away with the motor-driven cycle classification, but they have added, and this is probably what would be relevant to what you just mentioned, is they sort of added a catch-all definition of a vehicle. So for what we don't have even, what they haven't even invented yet, we have this, it's line 630, it says a high-power electric device means a self-propelled vehicle other than a motor vehicle subject to the title and registration requirements. So something that doesn't need a title, registration, license plates, but it is an electric device and powered by an electric motor that is capable of traveling more than 20 miles per hour on the power of the electric motor alone. And then those, that type of vehicle is subject to, because of its, if it meets that definition, then it has its own laws that apply to it. It's, I believe, and I haven't read through this whole thing yet, but I believe that it's something that wouldn't be road or trail legal. It's like private property or maybe off-road only. But I think that's the legislators looking forward and saying, basically anything that doesn't meet these other definitions we've already made is kind of off-road only. And I think that's good. The common denominator in all of the other vehicles is 20 mile an hour. So there's some different motor wattages that are permitted for different types, which doesn't make any sense to me that they did that. Like 2,000 watts on an electric scooter that you stand on, but 750 watts on an e-bike. Why? But they're both limited to 20 miles per hour or 28 on the e-bike if you're pedaling. So I think that's what they're kind of doing.
Is that capability or use?
Capability. And if it's, there's verbiage in here where if it's capable of being modified to exceed that speed limit or other things, there's labeling laws about what they have to say and what law enforcement can do about it. So it seems like they've settled on pretty much 20 miles an hour as the speed limit for motorized, non-registered street legal motor vehicles, but for this other category, 20 miles an hour. And then, so at least there's that. I mean, some of us would rather be 15, some would rather nobody under 14 rides them, but at least there's that.
Which gives the enforcement arm something very consistent to enforce. They could sit on Provo's trails and say Provo's trails are signed at 15. State law is 20. You were doing 21, therefore you're in violation of both. And we feel really confident that we need to pull you over and talk to you.
City ordinances can always be more restrictive than the state, but not less. 5 minutes to go, and the east-west connectivity discussion is kind of going to be an ongoing discussion. Greg has said that he's doing a project for us that he'll do this year. So we kind of want to, what are our parameters on this? Like, what are our main goals on east-west connectivity? I know it was something that was brought up as one of the discussion points this year. So what is the goal that people are looking for?
We were talking when we came up with this goal of, when we say east-west connectivity, we're talking about the barrier of the freeway, getting people so that our city isn't divided, right? That we're all with the same city with the same access. Like, it would be nice. Somebody was talking once about 200 north going all the way through to 900 east, and that's on a transportation plan somewhere, but that helps a section of the city get from University Avenue or 500 West over, but it doesn't bridge the freeway. And I think that, to me, is the number one priority, is getting those. So whether we have more accesses under the freeway, which is less likely, or whether we make sure that the accesses that take us from one side of the freeway to the other we're super efficient and safe for all modes. That would be my goal.
So the way I see this issue, bring it up, is looking historically at Utah and how the cities were laid out. You always had main and center, and they were supposed to be more or less primary arterial type roads. They're supposed to be the main travel roads through an area. And Utah, prior to the freeway, had highways that went north and south because that's where the cities were, that's where the mountains constrained us, the lakes constrained us. We had highways that went north and south. The highways would turn into main streets typically in every little city. And then the center streets, I mean, sometimes it would slip, but usually the center streets would be perpendicular to that, right? If you needed to go east and west, you could get on center and get through town. If you need to go north and south, you get on Main to get through town. Well, as all of the cities have grown up around here, those rural highways all turned into very long main streets that had pretty good access. The center streets didn't. And instead of being highways originally, they didn't grow with anything. So they ended up congested. And so we didn't build additional east-west arterials to match the north-south highways that we turned into our arterials. So Provo does have that problem where we have our freeway over there, but when the freeway was built, there was nothing west of the freeway, right? So the connectivity is kind of poor, and we have a real serious problem with it in that the only real way to provide actual arterials east and west is often to smash a bunch of houses down, and the political turmoil of that is really, really hard to sell.
I think there's another east-west thing where when people talk about east-west connection, they're often talking about people on the benches getting to the freeway. It's a quantitatively and qualitatively different discussion than the I-15. So I do think that separating the city. So I think it's actually two different discussions. But people talk about east-west connectivity and they think they're friends, but they're actually talking about totally different things.
Yeah. Except that if you do the crossing the freeway access really well, then you can also
Potentially
do the tie-in access really well.
I do think though that we, in this discussion, I would like it to be data-driven as much as possible, right? Like, I feel like the micromobility discussion got sort of emotional sometimes last year. And I'm not excusing myself from that. It would be great, like, if we're going to talk about east-west connectivity, like, oh, this neighborhood has really bad connectivity. How are we describing that? What measures are we using? How do we justify that statement other than it's hard for me to get across? Like, that's not data. And I'd like to see at least some data make an appearance. And I hope to do that in my presentation this summer, but it'd be great if there's other perspectives and other data that can be brought into it as well.
Travel and
whatever, like, and we should talk about what that is, right? Like, what data do we think is valid?
Are you starting with Provo City's existing streets master plan, like what's already been on the master plan from like probably 50 or 60 that have never built?
That's right. So I mean, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take the street network and points of interest data and do some experiments where I take away roads and I add roads and see who gains the most or who loses the most when those roads are lost. Yeah, kind of a travel demand model type. But there are other valid ways of doing this too, like travel times to key stations or level of service on the main access road. And, you know, in all of this, like with 700 North, that's often cited as, oh, we need a faster road getting east to west across Provo than 700 North is. More people walk across 700 North than drive down it. So we shouldn't like make it harder for people to walk in that direction by making it easier for a few people to drive. And so there's some constraints that we need to have in this discussion as well.
Also, the fact that 700 North doesn't go very far beyond University.
That's right. It ends at Freedom.
It really doesn't need to be a main street. Yeah.
And so it has a demographic of students that are walking already quite a bit.
That's right.
If we look qualitatively, where is a place that has good east-west connectivity? What does that look like? So you go up to Orem, if you get out of Provo,
yeah,
you go north, you've got University Parkway, which used to be a highway to BYU's doorstep. It's not anymore. Then you have Center Street, you have 800 North, you have 1600 North. About every mile or so, you have a major east-west arterial. In Provo, there's not. They don't exist. The only east-west arterial that's actually kind of a decent arterial is Center Street.
And I would argue that, like,
That's not an easy.
and I would argue that we don't.
Technically an arterial, but it's posted 25, so it's not an arterial.
Well, Center Street is posted 15.
Yeah, I mean, they're both the same.
An arterial, they're not
Yeah,
all
yeah.
FHWA arterials.
But it's your way to get across.
All the way from.
It's your way to get across, but it's not.
Through downtown.
Through downtown.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think turning Provo into Orem would be a mistake, though, and that's where we need to talk about the concerns.
Because like you said, in order to get those throughways through Orem, they knock down rows and rows of houses to build wider roads.
1,500 right now, what they're doing. Okay, I'm gonna actually wheel this in just a little bit because we are at time. The third thing that was mentioned in a discussion before was not just looking at cars, but actually looking at all mobility east-west, getting from lake to mountains. So, do those three discussion points sound like good discussion points? We're talking the barrier to freeway, which is a huge thing in Provo. We're talking benches to freeway, which some of those streets up on the benches are rat's nests. And then mobility for all forms of traffic from lake to mountain. And I'll talk to you about that afterwards. Okay. We'll take those three discussion points and we'll kind of get a plan moving forward on this discussion. Thank you guys so much today for your time. Thank you for your opinions and thank you for sharing them. Even if we don't always agree, I appreciate that we have open discussions. So I just want to thank you guys on that. And we'll have to say a motion to adjourn. Wait, meeting's adjourned. Yay!
There's plenty of bike parking. You and I can both park.
We don't have to fight over that.
Well, you gotta go.
I got here.